This is part A of the Khoodeelaar television channel, Khoodeelaar television channel, broadcasting under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo. Baby Angel Geronimo is the world's bestest Baby Angel Geronimo, the world's most innocent, the healthiest Baby Angel Geronimo, the unique Baby Angel Geronimo was born in New Zealand and raised by a woman called Louise Leonie Walker. Sorry, not Louise, Leonie Walker. The baby angel Geronimo is the symbol, the witness, and the witness eternal of all the bad things that the criminals in the Little England state have been perpetrating and are prone to perpetrate. Baby angel Geronimo is the guide that we use to update on all the injustices and to mark the vindication of Baby Angel Geronimo's stance. Baby Angel Geronimo is the main character in the so far three High Court cases in the United Kingdom, where all the lies and the cruelties and the criminalities by DEFRA and condoned and aided and abetted by the then incumbent in the post of Prime Minister in the United Kingdom, the dog mess on pavement, Boris Johnson. Baby Angel Geronimo is the healthiest Baby Angel Geronimo because despite the fact that for years the criminals at DEFRA, aided and abetted by the likes of Boris Johnson, but not only by Boris Johnson, but other Geronimo never been in health. So the many lies that were confected by the DEFRA evilness personified, evilness middlemen, intended to demonize the baby angel Geronimo, failed. So we are broadcasting this on all aspects, all activities, all the criminalities and corruption and cruelties and lack of compassion and lack of fairness on every aspect of so-called society in the United Kingdom under the banner of baby angel Geronimo. Now, today's Murdoch-owned scum, also known as the Sun, on pages 26 and 27, runs a two-page spread, of course, about Shuhada Sadaqat, inviting a fan of hers at that age, 20 at that time, called Louise, within quotes, for a wild week in London. It was the first time Louise's eyes had sparkled since chemotherapy. This is quoted, quoting the words of Louise's dad, Philip. And I'll just read the opening sentences there. Dad, have you been drinking? Louise laughed when I told her Well, they are using the name not Shuhada Sadaqat, but the other name, the Irish name, Louise O'Connor had phoned. It was 1991, and Sinead was at the height of her fame. Like Louise, I thought it was a wind up when I took the call, but it was real. Sinead spoke so quickly and softly in her gentle Irish accent. I had to ask her to slow down, especially as the line was faint because she was calling from Los Angeles. At the time, my beautiful daughter was 20 years old and suffering from terminal cancer. She'd found out she had, this is a very difficult word, this is a medical word, so this is the word that I leave pass, and I won't attempt to read it because I'll get it wrong. At the age of 18, just before she was due to start studying Germanic languages at Leeds University, her bags were packed and ready to go when the devastating news. A massive fan, Louise adored Sinead's music, and Nothing Compares to You was one of her all time favorite songs. It was lovely to see her smile after she'd endured months of grueling chemotherapy. Sinead must have read Louise's story in the press, as we had been doing a lot of charity events to raise funds for our local hospice. Getting that phone call was very special, but more excitement was to follow. When Sinead invited Louise to stay with her in London, soon she was excitedly packing her bags and catching a train from Blackpool to Euston Station. Sinead, who would have been 25 then, was there to meet her when the train pulled in, wearing a big black hooded jumper and tracksuit bottoms. She wasn't dressed like a superstar, and she gave Louise a lovely smile and hug when she saw her. There was no pomposity about her, just a girl from Ireland meeting a girl from Blackpool. Beside her was a big security guard called Winston, who towered above her tiny 5 foot 3 inches frame. At first, he eyed Louise with caution. Being famous, Sinead attracted a lot of hangers on, but as they got talking, he loosened up, and soon they were all chatting away like old friends, and so on. So, this is a piece that is spread on the 2 pages, and the 2 pages are mainly taken up by three pictures. One of Shuhada Sadaqat performing in 1988 in Belgium, the biggest one, and then one of her with Louise, and another one, I think there are two of them with Louise. And there is a bottom picture, what is called normally inset, is Louise photographed in 1992 with Diana, the late Diana. So that is the picture, and there, of course, I mean, that being years before the 1991, years before Shuhada Sadaqat became a Muslim, it is understandable that they're using that name, but they should have made her name and the fact that she's a Muslim clear somewhere on this two-page spread. But because they are anti-Muslim, they don't do that. Being anti-Muslim doesn't stop them trying to capitalize on the fact that she is big news. Shuhada Sadaqat, big news on this particular incident is very big and a humanitarian item that she actually created by inviting Louise to stay with her for a week in London. Now, we shall be talking about Shuhada Sadaqat and many acts of her generosity, her kindness, and her simplicity throughout, because it is without a doubt that there will be other similar stories about Shuhada Sadaqat. And every time they will be doing that, publishing, that is, they will be vindicating the belief, the convictions that Shuhada Sadaqat herself expressed and confirmed, and the conviction and the belief that the baby angel Geronimo has shown and personifies that the state in the United Kingdom is corrupt and the decision makers in the state, in the name of the state, are corrupt and criminal, lacking compassion, lacking generosity, and lacking, of course, all fairness and justice. Now, the Times has got on page one the smaller heading, across the page. Trump is charged with attempting to overturn election result. Now, that is, of course, the main political news, breaking news from the USA, and it is correct that it should be so, because according to all the main items, Trump is being held to account for the first time, despite the fact that the attempt to sabotage and nullify the election of 2020, the prosecution, various attempts at prosecuting him, have been sabotaged by the Republican Party in the American Congress. But this time, it is not considered to be as likely to fail as the other three had done. So let's see the take on the Times. And the Times take is by Alistair Dobar and David Charter. They're filing from Washington. And it says Donald Trump was charged last night with attempting to overturn the 2020 presidential election and his role in the riot at the US Capitol in the days before he left the White House. Well, that is not true because he didn't leave the White House. He had to be forced to leave the White House. Trump is so far the only defendant to face charges, but the indictment six unnamed co conspirators, including a lawyer willing to spread knowingly false claims and pursue strategies. Prosecutors led by Jack Smith, a special counsel, accuses Trump, 77, of creating an intense national atmosphere of mistrust and anger and eroding public faith in the administration of the election after he lost to Joe Biden. They added that Trump's actions targeted the bedrock functions of the United States federal government. The purpose of the conspiracy was to overturn the legitimate results of the 2020 presidential election by using knowingly false claims of election fraud. Trump will be charged with four federal offenses: conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct Congress certification of Biden's electoral victory on January the 6th, 2021, obstruction and conspiracy against the right to vote. The former president has been summoned to appear at a federal court in Washington tomorrow, that is Thursday, the 3rd of August 2023, when he is likely to formally enter a plea of not guilty. Last night, Trump compared his persecution to 1930s Nazi Germany, the Soviet Union, or other dictatorial regimes. He accuses Smith, the Justice Department, and the Biden administration of conspiring to derail his attempt to return to the White House after next year's election. This is nothing more than the latest corrupt chapter in the continued pathetic attempt by the Biden crime. Well, what is he saying? After the word Biden crime, what is he calling it? Biden crime family and the weaponized Department of Justice to interfere with the 2024 president election, in which President Trump is the undisputed frontrunner and leading by substantial margins. Trump's campaign said in a statement last night. Now, this is the version in the Times, which is, of course, right wing and supporter of the right agenda. But the Financial Times, which I shall read shortly, is taking a different approach. And one of the Financial Times' known writers has been writing about it. I mean, is Gideon Rahman. So let's find Gideon Rahman's piece. Rahman, not Rahman. Rachman. Gideon Rahman, Gideon Rahman, Rachman. This is timed as having been posted 4 hours ago. Trump and American democracy's time of trial. The future of democracy in America will turn on the trials of Donald Trump and the political turmoil that will surround them. So let's see the fuller version of this one if you can access it. How is that possible? Okay, so this latest one, yeah. Trump indicted for unprecedented attempt to overturn US election. This is the Gideon Rahman headed. And former president determined to remain in power despite losing 2020 poll, alleges Justice Department. Instant insight: Trump and American democracy's time of trial. This is the one about Trump by Gideon Rahman. Let's see if we can access this one, as I say. And Gideon Rahman piece is accompanied by a picture of a black person smiling as they wear this banner or stand holding up this banner indicted. It's Nadine Silo holds a banner in front of the federal courthouse where Donald Trump is expected to answer charges later this week. It's a picture credited to Reuters. And the Gideon Rahman opinion piece is timed as having been posted 4 hours ago. The future of command the respect of all politicians and of society at large. Trump's efforts to fight back against the indictment relies on a rejection of the third principle, the idea that all sides respect the impartiality of the law. I'll read that again, the whole paragraph. Trump's efforts to fight back against the indictment relies on a rejection of that third principle, that the truth can be established in a court of law and that the court's verdict should command the respect of all politicians and of society at large. Trump's efforts to fight back against the indictment relies on a rejection of that third principle, the idea that respect the impartiality of the law. The former president portrays the case against him as a political vendetta. In a statement made just after the indictment was issued, the Trump campaign compared the federal government's prosecution of him to Nazi Germany in the 1930s, the former Soviet Union, and dictatorial regimes. Unquote. The danger and drama of this situation is heightened by the fact that Trump's trial for conspiracy to overturn the last presidential election is likely to take place in the midst of the next presidential election, in which he remains the favorite to be the Republican Party's nominee. Trump's strategy will be to turn the 2024 election into a second concurrent trial, this time before the court of public opinion. The issues that normally dominate a US presidential election, the economy or foreign policy, are likely to be pushed to one side, subsumed by the fact that one of the two main candidates will be on trial. Indeed, it is likely that Trump will face five or more separate sets of legal proceedings over the coming year. A trial for falsifying business records is set to begin next March. A trial of mishandling of classified information is set for May. A civil trial for business fraud is scheduled for October. And Georgia may soon file a further case against Trump for his efforts to thwart the 2020 vote in that state. To his opponents, the fact that Trump faces so many different charges is proof of his profound corruption. For his supporters, however, the sheer number of cases and the fact that they are all coming to a head in the middle of an election are simply proof that he is the victim of a vast government conspiracy. Much of the Republican Party is already arguing, that again, much of the Republican Party is already arguing that the federal authorities are covering up the alleged corruption of Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, which they claim implicates the presidential election. I'll read that again. Much of the Republican Party is already arguing that the federal authorities are covering up the alleged corruption of Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, which they claim implicates the president himself, that is, Joe Biden himself. The shrillness of the campaign against the Biden crime family is now only likely to intensify. This latest and most serious indictment seems very unlikely to shake Trump's grip on the Republican Party. Recent polls have shown the former president miles ahead of all his declared challengers for the Republican Party's nomination in 2024. Each successive indictment seems to have actually strengthened Trump's support among Republican voters. This situation presents his Republican political rivals with an acute dilemma. Do they accept Trump's narrative that he is being unfairly persecuted and thus bolster his reputation as a martyr who, who must be supported? Or do they reject it and antagonize the party's voters who support their need? The comments of Ron DeSantis, I'll read that again. That name is always a slippery name, probably representing the slippery person. The comments of Ron DeSantis, the nearest rival for the nomination, suggest that he is basically supporting Trump's narrative. The Florida governor greeted the latest indictment by decrying the weaponization of government. He also suggested that Washington, D.C., where the trial will take place, is a swamp where Trump cannot get a fair trial. If Trump does win the Republican nomination, his party's dilemma will only become more acute. They will have to support a candidate who likens the federal government to the Nazi regime. This is a narrative. This is a message that will go down well in Moscow, but could be difficult to stomach for a party of super patriots. If Trump does win the Republican nomination, his party's dilemma will only become acute, more acute. They will have to support a candidate who likens the federal government to the Nazi regime. This is a message that will go down well in Moscow but could be difficult to stomach for a party of super patriots that likes to sing, I am proud to be an American. But while Trump's legal problems probably make him more likely to win the nomination, they make him less likely to win the presidency itself. Recent opinion polls have shown Trump neck and neck with Biden in a general election, but they also show growing reservations after the cases against him, even among Republicans. The sheer time and expense of simultaneously fighting an action and many separate legal cases are likely to take a toll on Trump, who is 77 years old. Well, he's talking about health now. Even so, victory remains a possibility. The flaws and misdemeanors that the trials will reveal have been known to American voters for many years, and yet Trump's political support has remained robust. Joe Biden is now 80 years old and could suffer any manner of mishap, and the third party candidate could still enter the race and draw votes away from Biden. If Trump wins the election in 2024, he will hope that the power of the presidency will free him of the danger of future convictions. It is a stark choice, the Oval Office or a prison cell. That's the end of the Gideon Rahman piece about Trump's being indicted. Well, now there is a picture on the Financial Times under the UK foreign policy, and with the item headlined or headed Foreign Office report reveals grim human toll of UK's overseas aid cuts. Well, there is a harrowing picture of a very small animal that is being made to carry a huge burden. There are two African women, one is leading it and the other is behind the actual animal. Now this animal must be crying, it must be weeping, and it must be saying to God, help me, God. Now, how many animals like that are being tortured and brutalized by people in all parts of the world, especially in Africa and Asia? Why do human beings have to do this? Why can't they leave the animals free? We shall be talking more about the animals in due course. But the point is that the Financial Times is stupid. It says grim human toll of UK's overseas aid cuts. What about these animals? And all the various war zones that they've been reporting from and about have, of course, hundreds, thousands, even more animals being brutalized and caused to suffer indescribably. But the media does not recognize these sufferings. So the post that we have made on the Wikipedia, not Wikipedia, on the overseas aid cuts on the particularly suffering animal. What time did you do that? We did that earlier today, 3 hours ago, and it says it's a montage that I have made of the animal and with the description there. I'll read that in a minute. God kindly help this suffering baby creature. And what I have written there, oh God, kindly help these oppressed, tortured creatures. Where is any caring world body which must come forward, arrive on the scenes, such as this one, with urgent measures helping these suffering baby creatures? It says that we have isolated this image from the FT.com story that is supposedly about the UK Foreign Office latest cuts to aid budget taking grim toll and humanist. The morons at the Financial Times totally callously, carelessly, contemptuously not bothered about the suffering of this angel. So we shall be continuing on the theme of animals being caused to suffer like this. And again, of course, this is being done under the banner of the baby angel Geronimo. Uh, a more fitting combination is difficult to imagine. We shall be continuing in the other editions later, finishing at this stage in 38 minutes 26 seconds. This is part A of the Khoodeelaar television channel.